Do y'all know what this is? Oh yeah, the mystery box challenge is back. Hey everyone, my name is Yami. I am your Latina next door. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, I share high-end home decor and DIYs on a budget. If you like videos like this, please make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe so that you too can become part of the familia. Now, the mystery box challenge was created by my dear friend Courtney over at Creative on the Cheap. If you don't know what the mystery box challenge is, it's a group of us YouTubers. We all go out and buy $15 to $20 worth of items. We pack it in a box along with 2 more challenging items, and we send it to another YouTuber, and they have to create some DIYs out of the things that we send them in that box. Of course, they have no idea what they're getting. I received my box from Courtney herself over at Creative on the Cheap, and I sent my box over to Shannon over at The Daily DIYer. I'll have their channels listed below in my description box, but there's also going to be a playlist where you can see each video in order from the first person who sent it on and so forth. First thing that we have to do is open up the box and see what we got. Let's do it. Woo-hoo! These are the 2 challenge items. I'm going to leave these ones to the end. She wrapped them up so nice. All right. Oh, wait a minute. What's this? Wait a minute, this is a gift. You did a really nice job wrapping them. I didn't do so good on Shannon's. Oh my God, that's so sweet. Thank you, Courtney. Oh. Thank you for doing another mystery challenge. You always knock it out of the park. Please take note of the pretty wrapping paper I use and the little gift I sent you. Oh, thank you so much. Focus on that while you open my challenge items. I'm totally not kidding. Oh my God, I'm so scared. Okay, what do we have? Oh, we got some folk art paint, soft apple. Good, we got some little cube little dice. All right, foam dice. Oh, this is cute. Very nice. It's got little lemons on it. All right, okay. Got this blessed sign. I actually already have one of these. This is buffalo check, or actually it's more like gingham fabric. It's black and white. Paper mache. Little tags it looks like. Is it a banner? What does it say? Home. Home. Okay. All right. This is a banner. And it's got these leather straps. All right. We have, what is this? A grilling plank. All right. Some wood discs. All right. Okay. And some beads, some little square, little wooden, let's go. I'm a little scared, I'm not gonna lie. Challenge number 1. These are alphabet stickers. Please don't hate me. If anything, this item represents my complete confidence in that you'll rock it out. What it is. She sent me some mousetrap. All right, mouse traps. If I get pinched, I am sending you the medical bill. All right? I'm just kidding. All right, let's do this. All right, so we're gonna start off with this first DIY, and we're gonna be using this grilling plank. Next, I'm gonna remove the black frame portion of the little Dollar Tree artwork. And we're going to go right into it. We're going to use these mouse traps. First thing I'm going to do is open them up and take them apart. And next, I'm going to take the second challenge items and pull out some numbers. The little mouse traps are kind of rough around the edges, so I went ahead and took some sandpaper and sanded them all around. That way they didn't have any splinters or any rough edges. Then I took some white chalk paint and painted each one. Next, I took that little black frame that I had removed from the little Dollar Tree artwork, and I began placing the little mousetrap boards on the back of it. Once I knew where I wanted them, I began to hot glue them down. I added hot glue to the back of the little wood pieces and I adhered it on to the grilling plank. So I took the numbers that I had previously selected from my challenge item and I set them down so that I can paint them with a different kind of metallic paint. They were a little bit too shiny for me, and so they actually look like cardboard that was painted silver versus actual silver. So I thought I'd give it a few dabs of my metallic folk art brush metal paint in the silver color. That way it could just matte it down and not be so shiny. I simply use a makeup sponge in order to apply the paint. And because they were already silver, my using another color of silver and just adding it randomly did give it a more galvanized look. And then once they were dry, I adhered them with some hot glue onto the little mouse traps. And now you have a really cute house number plaque. So onto the banner. I am right now removing all of the little leather straps from it and making each little square individual. Then once they are all by themselves, I will take some hot glue and I will glue all of the edges together. And then I began to paint all four sides with some white chalk paint. So for this month's special instructions for this box, we were supposed to incorporate popsicle sticks somehow into at least one of our projects. I had these jumbo popsicles on hand because I actually ordered a box online a little while ago. And so what I did was I laid them out and I began to stain them with some of my aged glaze by Rust-Oleum. I made sure to also stain the edges as well. Next, I used my favorite crafting shears and I began to cut them down, making sure that they were the width of the little squares. Now, I wanted to create a little crate. If you're not already guessing, that's what I'm doing. In order for this to look nice and high-end, make sure that whenever you do a side, you cut them each the same length. And then when you go to the second side, you cut it a little bit longer in order to make sure and overlap the edges of the new popsicle sticks. So as you cut along, you're going to be cutting different sizes, so don't cut them all at once. Make sure you cut as you go so that you can cover each of the edges of the popsicle sticks with the new side. I hope that makes sense. Once I was done adding the popsicle sticks to the bottom and top rim, I came back and did all of the corners. I made sure that the corner pieces aligned with the horizontal pieces. Now what I mean is that if there is a popsicle stick on that side that butts up to a longer one on the other side, I'd make sure that the popsicle stick on that side also butted up on the new popsicle stick that was going on that corner. Again, I know it's confusing. I hope that made sense. Now this little crate is stable on its own. However, I wanted to add a couple of these cubes from Dollar Tree on the inside at the bottom like you see here, because I will be adding another wood piece on the inside because I'll be inserting some floral foam. So next I cut some floral foam to fit right inside of my crate. Now I just wanted to let you know that Walmart has 3 packs of floral foam, and they're actually cheaper than the ones at Dollar Tree because you get 3 for $2.47, and they're thicker pieces of floral foam, so I kind of like that you get a little bit more for your money at Walmart. Now because this crate was looking kind of nice and I wanted it to all look nice and high end, I tried out some new moss. Now I've used the one from Dollar Tree in the past, and I'll be honest with you, I used all of mine up, and so when I was at Walmart I picked up some of this. Now it's more expensive, but I do see a difference in the quality, and I do like that it comes in these really thick sheets. So I worked it in, making sure I got all of the corners, and I hot glued it down so that it would stay in place. I had this dowel that I wanted to use, and I actually liked this dowel the way it was. I didn't have to stain it because it was a darker dowel, which I thought was pretty cool, and I cut it to size. You're probably guessing that I'm making a topiary. Yes, I am. So I had this styrofoam ball, and what I did was I inserted the hot tip of my glue gun into the styrofoam ball so that I could insert the dowel much easier. I did end up hot gluing the end of the dowel before I placed it inside of the ball in order to keep it more stable. Now I took some green paint that I already had on hand, and I began to paint the styrofoam ball. I'm going to be inserting a lot of greenery in it, but in case there's some styrofoam that you can see here or there, at least it'll be green and you won't be able to tell. Okay, does this not remind everyone of their science project back in elementary school where you had to get a styrofoam ball and then cut out part of it so that you can show all of the layers of the inside of the earth? Or am I just the only one who did that? And here you have your beautiful finished topiary. I'm just kidding. It's not done yet. But you do get to see my very messy workspace, and this is why I need a studio. Can anybody let the Latino engineer know that he needs to make me a studio? So for this topiary, I wanted to do a multi-greenery bush. I think they look so beautiful. And so I picked up this greenery bush at Walmart for under $6, and I only purchased one of them. If I need more, I will go ahead and use some of the greenery that I have on hand. But I love all of the different leaves that this one had. So I picked it up, and what I did was I started cutting all of the pieces down to smaller individual stems. So then I started adding each individual piece to the styrofoam ball. And because I had cut down a lot of the pieces into individual smaller pieces, the wires that were holding them together weren't really the thick wire that you'd find at the base of the greenery bush. So what I did was I used my Cricut weeding tool in order to stab the styrofoam, make a hole, and then I would add some hot glue onto the bottom of the stem, and then I would insert it. Now, I'm not going to lie, in the beginning, it's going to look like a total hot mess. And you're going to be like, oh my God, what am I doing to this thing? I'm messing it up. But I promise you that the more greenery you add, the more it will make sense. Once I was done with the topiary, I added that really pretty gingham navy blue and white fabric ribbon that Courtney included in the box, and I put it out in my living room. So for the next DIY, I'm going to be using these little wood discs. Now, I know everybody does ornaments out of these. I've done some myself in the past. But for this, I wanted to do something different for you guys. I wanted to come up with something kind of fun and something that could be given as a gift now instead of for Christmas. So I began to just paint this a generic black chalk paint. Of course, you can paint this any color you want, but the first one I'm going to paint in black and the second one I'm going to paint in white. I created a couple of initials on my Cricut design studio, and I made one in black and one in white, obviously the opposing colors of the discs, and then I applied them to each one. So this can have a saying or it can have just simple initials like this. Now sticking them on here will be a little bit challenging because of the rough texture of the disc. And even if you're using premium vinyl, the vinyl may want to peel off just because it doesn't have a flat surface to adhere to. So in order to prevent these coming off, I went ahead and added some Mod Podge, and I'm using one in a satin finish. And this is just going to hold everything and seal everything down so that they don't come off. So while those are drying, I'm going to get the beads that were in the box, and I am going to mix them up with some of my wooden unfinished beads, and I'm going to feed them through some baker's twine. I thought it'd be fun to create some alternating patterns. You can very well just use the same type of bead, but I thought it might be fun to just change things up and do something really nice on the baker's twine. Now you're not going to make this very long in length, because we're not doing a string of beads that you would put on a coffee table. No, we're not. And so as you can see here, I made this loop, and then I came back with my needle and re-threaded that baker's twine to a few of the beads in the beginning of the line. And you should end up with something like this. I'm just going to cut the strings at the end, giving me a little bit of length so that I can work with it later, and then I am going to work on my second one. However, I do end up tying the two ends in a knot. So for the second one, I decided to do a little bit of a different pattern and use 2 small dark beads and 1 light bead instead. And you should end up with something like this. Alright, so next you want to take a drill with a small drill bit, and you want to drill a hole at the top center of each of these discs. Then using an embroidery needle, I feed the baker's twine through that hole that I just created. After I fed it through the hole, I'm going to come back and feed the needle in between the 2 strings, and then I'll separate them, tie a knot, then I'll flip it over and tie another knot again on the back side in order to secure it. And then you or a friend will have really nice wine or liquor bottle charms. How fun is that? All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take those paper mache little gift tags, and I am going to take one out, and I'm going to paint it black. Now I'm using chalk paint, but any acrylic paint or any type of paint that you have on hand should work for this. And I'm going to paint the front, the back, and the sides, as well as the little hanger piece. Now I didn't show this part, but once it was dry, I took that shape and traced it on the little piece of fabric that was in the box. I cut out 2 little patterns for each side. Then I took some of that Mod Podge that I used earlier, applied it to both sides of the little tag, and added the fabric. I had the layer of Mod Podge underneath the fabric as well as on top. Now if the edges of the fabric aren't perfect and they're a little bit bigger than the sides, don't worry about this. Once the Mod Podge hardens, you can actually come back with a utility knife and razor those edges right off. Then I came back and touched up the edges of the little tag with a little bit more black chalk paint. Alright, so I still had quite a bit of that fabric to use up, so I decided to take out this little basket that I had created a while ago. I'm sure you guys have seen it. It was in my best ever rope DIY video, and I traced out the bottom as well as cut a long piece on the other end of the fabric. I cut out the bottom circle that I had traced earlier, and then using the basket I traced a pattern on the fabric in order to create an inner liner. And I'll be honest with you all, I've never done a round basket liner. I've done rectangular or square ones, but this is a first for me, so I'm probably just going to show you what I did and not really do an actual tutorial, because honestly I don't even think I did it right. The little basket had handles and I needed to create pockets some way, somehow, in order to feed them through. And I don't think I did it correctly, but I still made it work. I started by sewing off the edges of that inner liner. I sewed the circle that I cut earlier to the bottom of that liner, but I didn't record it because honestly I had a really hard time doing it. Now for that long piece that I cut earlier, I sewed one line straight down one of the edges and then I turned it right side out. So as you can see here, I put the liner in that little basket, and then that rectangular long piece, I pinned it around the edge. That's the edge that's going to spill over the basket. And I'm going to sew those edges together, and then where the little handles meet, I'm just going to stop stitching because I need that little hole, and I have no idea how to make that. I'll probably need to look it up eventually so I can do it properly. But since I was short on time, this is how I came up with that solution. I am sure that there's some experienced sewers out there cringing right now, and I apologize. I sewed that top edge together, and then I was done with my liner. Alright, so remember that little farmhouse art piece that I took the black frame off of to create my very first DIY? Well, I'm going to use it for this next project. What I'm going to do is I am going to take some black chalk paint and I am going to paint it completely over. I am going to attempt, ladies and gentlemen, to create my very own freehand masterpiece. Let's see how this turns out. It's inspired by a piece that I saw at Hobby Lobby. But it was one of those pieces that you look at and you're like, I think I can do that. So I am going to attempt this, and at the end I'll show you what the original piece was, and you guys can let me know if I got anywhere near it. And I made sure to paint the sides of this as well. Now once it was dry, I came back in and I first started out with a white chalk marker, and I thought it would be probably the best way in order for me to start the pattern for this painting. In the box, I also received some green acrylic paint, and that's what I'm using right now. I will be adding different colors of green in order to add a dimension to this piece, and I'll do that shortly. Now I'm just gonna let this roll, and hopefully you guys enjoy this fun little process. Now I know it's kind of hard to see, but I am adding some yellow dimension to these leaves. For some reason my lighting kind of washed everything out, so if I do this in the future, I definitely will be adjusting my lighting so that you guys can see each and every detail. So I'll be honest with you guys, the challenge items were easy compared to these little dice. Every time I've seen people do DIYs with these smaller dice or even the larger ones in the toy section, it's always the same home little blocks where you can, add HOME to each little block and spell out home, or use them as little date blocks, like you have the different dates and you can just switch the blocks around to get your new date. And I really didn't want to do one of those because it's been done so many times, so I was really racking my brain as to what I can do with these that are different. And so as you can see here, I am cutting down this sticky back cork board. You can find these in the craft section at Dollar Tree, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cover each side of the block with the cork. And then after I did that, I remembered I had these parts of the mouse traps, and I thought, okay, maybe I can use part of this for this. And so I took the rest of the metal pieces apart so that I can get to the pieces that I really needed, which was this piece right here. And what I would do is I would cut the spring in half, and then I would take off the excess little hook that you see right there. And then I would do that again to another one. Again, cut off half that spring with the pliers, and they would go everywhere at this point. And then remove that little hook at the very end. I would then stick those little pins in the center of each little cork cube. However, these cork cubes were a little bit plain, so I looked in my drawer and saw that I still had some of this really pretty embroidery ribbon from Dollar Tree, so I decided to cut some in order to go on the top and then on the bottom of each little cube. Now, I'll be honest with you all, this probably wouldn't be something that I would go to Dollar Tree and specifically look for to make. However, I did want to give you guys a different idea of something that you can use these for. These make cute little place card holders or even picture holders. So that's it for this month's mystery box challenge. If you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure to give this video a thumbs up, and also let me know in the comments below which one of these DIYs was your favorite. Don't forget to check out the playlist in my description box so that you can see what everybody else received, especially what I sent Shannon, because one of her challenge items is actually, I don't know. Thank you so much, Courtney, for inviting me to be a part of this again. These are always so much fun. Thanks again for being here, and I will see you guys next week with another home decor and DIY video. Until then, adios.